Good morning. Good morning. Well, it is for me anyway. Excuse me. I thought I got that out of the way before we started. Here we are, live on LinkedIn. I always hesitate because there is a massive delay between what I'm doing here right now and when it gets onto LinkedIn. It's a bit bizarre. I don't understand it. Don't ask me. I'm not a technician. I am, however, Martin Daubney from Inspire Coaching, the Basel-based coaching company that helps people every day do their very, very best every day without burning out. And today I'm going to follow on from a poll I did on Monday on the LinkedIn. So if you entered that poll, then thank you very much for your contribution. If you haven't, there's still time. It runs for a week. But it was looking at psychometrics and the use of psychometrics in the workplace. Unanimously, apart from 20%, which is, I think, only 2 people, but nevertheless, most people, let's put it this way, most people chose the format of the psychometric to be a insightful individual me plus the 360 for very good reason. Those people that didn't know what a psychometric assessment is. So if you're still not sure, in the coaching world, in the training world, a psychometric assessment is one of those questionnaires that the facilitator or coach will hand you, a little bit like, and then you start to build out the awareness. Well, you don't. You start to realize what's going on in your current situation, or some things you might like to change to make things even better. It could be likened to having a client come in and say, doctor, I've got a pain. So if you're a doctor and the doctor says, oh, let's have a look, we'll do an assessment, we'll run an x-ray or something. So it's kind of that as a metaphor. We're having a look a little bit deeper. And there are 4 go-to assessments that I use regularly, and I love them. And they have different purposes, and they have a different reason for me to love them as well. So let's start at the top. Imagine you are a team leader, or it could be an established team or a team that's in flux because there's change in your organization, and you want to get the best out of that team as quickly as possible. Most team leaders, managers, whoever you are, whatever you want to call yourself, understand the principles of forming, storming, norming, and performing, and that's tried and tested and kind of works. Most leaders tend not to understand that different members of their team can be in a different phase in that box at any time, and people can slip back, although generally the idea is to go forward cyclically through the forming, storming, norming, and performing bits. Good, that would be nice. So if you're in a new team, it's really, really critical to get the forming and storming bits out of the way really, really quickly. And a psychometric assessment, analysis, quiz, whatever you want to call it, is a useful way of doing that. Now, some of them rely on personality type indicators. So you will have heard of MBTI or Myers-Briggs type indicated. I've never really been a fan of this for 2 reasons. One, it was kind of pulled together by people who were interested in personality. And while it's interesting to understand aspects of our personality, it's not really the be-all and end-all. Those people that sell it, and it's sold massively around the world, clearly buy it for a reason. But the other thing I don't like about it is often people get given their 4-letter abbreviation as a label. So an INTJ, for example, INSF, whatever that is. The other thing, 3 things I don't like about it. I'm kind of introverted, but I can be extrovert when I want to be. So there's natural states. And there are other assessments out there that kind of are built on the Carl Jung's theory of personality, where Myers-Briggs came from. So if you've done discovery insights or disc analysis or something like that, again, very interesting to see what your personality is, but people do tend to get a bit labeled by the color. So introvert, task-focused people are in most of these assessments blue. So, oh, you're a bit blue today, or you're very blue. People who are extrovert and task focused, no interest in the people, extreme red. And I'm not a fan of labels in that way. Well, generally, even in clothing, forget it. So that's why I'm not keen on that. What I am keen on is those assessments that look at behavior and can help us in that human behavior to not only be at our best every day, but in that way contribute to the team and the team success. So move through that forming, storming, norming, performing bit into high performing. And this is where these assessments, in my view, can really start to shine. So start at the big one. I work with the suite of tools that come from the company called Human Synergistics. So here's another reason for liking these things. These people have done the work. Some of the other ones, they haven't done the work. They're bouncing on other people's work, which, you know, we all do from time to time. There's even an organization out there called HRDQ, which has a suite of assessments, not terribly in depth, but they basically have a catalogue. And I'm really, really keen on going to those people that have done the work. And Human Synergistics have done the work. I favor the leadership work styles. Why? Because in our work, we often do what we do, and mostly it's habitual, and we tend to not see what we don't want to see. So think about the Johari window and the blind spot thing. If you don't know the Johari window, it's a typical 2x2 grid, and across the top you've got what I know, what I don't know, and down the side you've got the boxes labeled what others know, what others don't know. So the top left-hand corner is what I know and what you know, and that's my arena. That's where I play. That's where I'm safe. I give you information about me. You know that, you see that. That's fine, and we're happy there. If you go down the box, what I know about me, but you don't know, well, I'm hiding something. And that's fine too. There's not everything about me that you need to know, and there's not everything about you that I need to know. In fact, my mother often tells me things about her that I'd go, la, 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 really don't want to know. I guess that's what happens when you get so old you don't care anymore. But nevertheless, there are things. So we have a mask, and it's called a facade. And yeah, maybe in time, as I trust you a bit, I might disclose something, and you trust me a bit more, then we disclose each other, and that facade drops a bit. The top right-hand corner is interesting because it's what you see about me that I don't see. They're my blind spot. That's my big growth area. That's my area for not doing things that really hack you off, which I didn't know, or perhaps doing more of that I do in a small way, which would really enhance not only my performance, but the team's performance. That blind spot growth is the place for not only personal growth, but team growth too. And the bottom right-hand corner is you don't know, I don't know. And that's kind of an exploratory area. That could be the intention of where to go, where to do. So these assessments often point out the blind spots. Most of the people who answered that poll wanted a self-assessment and a 360. And the 360 is really at its best. It's quite interesting. Someone said, I like to hear from my peers and my bosses, but not pointing out also my subordinates. I think it's fabulous for leaders. And they will learn so much if you can get an anonymous feedback on a 360 form that's designed, and this is where Human Synergistics comes in. They can design the assessment for your organization and remove assessment fatigue by building in other aspects that you may be measuring at the same time to really fit the need that you're going through. But I think it's crucial to get the feedback from the people you lead. I mean, why not? I'd love to know what people thought of me as a leader, only because it would help me be a better leader. Funnily enough, I'm working with a team, and one of the leaders has gone off and introduced me to his team. And in a quiet moment, one of the things that was disclosed was that this leader doesn't share enough. And the thing they didn't share was the outcome of their assessment. Now, I find that a little bit strange because the assessment is all about growth. It's not about telling you off for doing bad things. It's about helping you do things you do better. So the leadership work styles, fantastic. You get your bosses can interact and give you feedback. Your peer group can let you know how you're getting along and how you interact with everybody else. And your subordinates can also give you feedback on what they think of your managerial leadership styles. And it can only help you get better. So tick. You do a self-assessment and then you compare everyone else to you. Brilliant. Another assessment like that, self-assessment and others, is the one I use for emotional intelligence. And it was built by Judy Pierce and Martin Newman from Roche Martin. So they did the work, and I got introduced to this in 2012. And it's brilliant because it breaks down emotional intelligence, not for everybody, but for leaders. It's the emotional intelligence skills that leaders need to be great leaders. And there are 10 of them. You do a self-assessment and then again, the 360. So what do you think about how you were, your behavior, what was going on at that time? And then what do others see that you don't see? That blind spot is coming out again. The emotional capital report is foundational in helping organizations develop their leaders. And emotional intelligence is one of those topics that is kind of left to the side because it's a bit soft. And I say soft like that because it's not. And the more you know about yourself, the much better leader you will be to self-actualizing, self-knowing, as well as everybody thinks emotional intelligence is just empathy. Well, that's part of it. That's only part of it. But so is optimism. So is self-awareness and so on. So you build up a big picture of these topics, 10 of them, in order to help you develop their skills. And as Martin Newman put it, the full human potential is your IQ, the stuff you're kind of develop and born with and develops until you're about 18, 19, 20, plus your technical skills, the stuff you go to university to learn, your accounting degree, whatever it is, multiplied by emotional intelligence. You can't do it without emotional intelligence. And the more of that you have, the better leader you're going to be. So get in touch if you'd like to find out more. Then there are 2 assessments that I use that are purely self-assessment, and they come from well-being and resilience. Now, not resilience again, Martin. Yes. I was on a webinar the other day by Dr. Lizzie, who introduced me to the concept that resilience has a confidence factor about it. And the more confident you are about how you can get out of stuff or learn from the situation you're in, the more resilient you're going to be. And I love that. And confidence is that self-knowing piece from emotional intelligence. So let's see how self-knowing you are, how self-actualizing you are, and do that assessment. Let's have a look. And take it in and build it into resilience. The resilience is also affected by your thought patterns and where you are at the moment. And for that, I use the stress and well-being assessment. It's unique because it measures your stress levels and your well-being levels. And like most of these, I would say, well, like everything that's gone before, the human synergistic leadership work styles, the emotional capital report, and this one, do it once. This is your baseline. This is where we find out where you are now. And then do it again after we've done some work for 6 to 8 weeks and see where it is and what still needs to be improved and where you are actually making progress. Stress and Wellbeing Assessment has 12 components to it. 8 of them are looking at your stress levels and in all areas of your life, from your finances to your relationships, to how you're feeling physically, your physical stress and so on, and 4 aspects of well-being. And it's funny, you can be very, very stressed. Most people who are very, very stressed or come out into the red zone of this normalized data. So HeartMath have done this. They've gone out, they've studied it, they understand what they're talking about. They've got normalized data, as have the others. to set against, and and you can be very, very stressed on measured and have low well-being. But sometimes it's really quite interesting that some people are not very stressed, but also don't really know what to do if the stressing stuff comes up. The well-being side, both elements of that are important for your performance at work and to get you from where you are now into a state where you can actually be at your best every day without burning out. Highly crucial, really is. State management, emotion, it all comes from the emotion. Emotion intelligence is fundamental. And the fourth one I'd like to talk about is the Gallup Strength Finder. I call it Gallup because it was Gallup Strength Finder when I took it in 2012. One of the first 100 in the world, apparently, and definitely the first in Switzerland to be certified as a Gallup certified strength coach, which I'm very proud of. And it's one of those assessments which is based hugely in positive psychology. And I do laugh. There was somebody who many years ago was moaning about his lot, and I can't get this, I can't get that. And I said, well, either change this or change that. Oh, you positive psychologist, always something good to say about the situation. Well, I don't know. I like to see the good in things. And the Strength Finder, now called the Clifton Strength Finder, and has been for at least a decade, is one of those things that is a self-assessment, and it's a one-time only. It's not a developmental tool. It's not a job role description tool. It's not like that. It's to identify in you your innate talents and help you identify where you can use those talents most effectively in the workplace. Because guess what? When you do things the way you like doing them, you do them better with less stress. In the list of 34, the 34 talent behavior descriptions, it's how you do stuff, not what you do, not what your personality is, not what your job is. It's how you do stuff. And the more you can do that the way you want to do it, the more engaged you are, the more you're allowed to do it, the more you're encouraged to do it. Goodness me, you get a leader that encourages you to do your work the way you best rather than the way they know best. Know what I mean? Then the easier it's going to be for you, and the more enjoyment you're going to have there, the less stress. People tell everybody what a great place it is to work, and so on. It really is one of those assessments that can take people from doing to performing, and performing at a high end, high performing stage. For teams, is phenomenal. For teams, starting up a team conversation about the strengths that you have, well, actually they're themes, but they can develop into strengths. Let's not get too picky here, but call them strengths, those words that describe how you do stuff. Suddenly light bulbs go on across the room. Now I understand why this happens, that happens. So you prefer doing things that way. Then let's talk about how you can do that. It's quite enlightening. Now, there are things also in there that you realize that you talk about strengths. There are also weaknesses, and it's not to diminish the weaknesses. In old school thinking, you would think that, well, if I can't do something very well, then maybe I need a bit of training. And I remember when I was a corporate employee for far too many years, I, hand on heart, never very good at project planning. And I think in various employments, I had been put on 3 different project planning courses to improve my project planning skills. Well, I can tell you, I spent days on this, wasted days of company time and money, because I went from being awful to really bad. My growth in that area was rubbish. What they should have done is put me on some sort of creative course or even coaching course in the workplace, because I would have excelled at that rather than project planning. Anyway, it's a bit like when your child comes home from school and they've got A's and B's, and you think, oh yeah, everything's going great. And you look down the list, oh, there's an F. You need to get more help in this topic. No, you don't. You need to drop that topic and get more help in the areas that you're good at. The more you do that, the more they'll excel, the less stress they have. And we can't be good at everything, so don't pretend. Be good at what you're good at, and you have an innate drive to be good at, and you will excel at being good at that. Top tip. So the Strength Finder also comes with a program. It's a 14-week program, and it can take a new team from startup to on the route to high performance over 3 or 4 different short modules that we work together and use the Strength Finder to really base the culture in the team as a strengths-based culture. And in that way, everyone's a winner. So winner, winner, chicken dinner. There you go. So there's 4 psychometric assessments. The Human Synergistics Leadership Work Style. Love that. I don't know if I went into too much detail. 12 aspects of leadership, from collaborative in the top third to passive and aggressive behaviors. And most companies, well, there isn't a company that I know of that hasn't gone through this process and been asked, how would you describe your best company, your best culture within your organization? And everyone goes, oh, best. Well, we're collaborative and we pat each other on the back and we bring each other on and there's no judgment and we're encouraging and we talk to our people. We've got clear communication, What about passive behavior? Oh, no, because everyone's encouraged to speak up and there's no, nothing goes against you if you speak up. We like to hear things that aren't working well so we can fix them. What about aggressive behavior? Leaders being really bossy and aggressive and shouty. No, we frown on that. No, don't do that. No. So you go, okay, that's ideal. There isn't a company in the world that hasn't described their ideal something like that. So then you do a survey in the organization and they have very little collaborative working behaviors. They have very little patting each other on the back and encouraging. It's sadly shrunk away. What about passive behavior? Well, yeah, there's loads. And why is there loads? Because there's loads of aggressive behavior too, that when the boss shouts up and doesn't listen to what you've got to say, what do people do? They get a bit passive. They get fed up of speaking, or they see the danger of speaking. As a colleague many years ago said, in what the boss thought was a safe environment, she didn't want to put her head up above the parapet. The boss was actually quite hurt by that, but clearly the behaviors that were coming across showed it was dangerous to speak up. So yeah, most organizations are full of passive behavior and kind of heavy on aggressive too. So using the leadership work styles in the 360 format, we can identify those behaviors. We can see what needs to be seen and change what needs to be changed. And within 6 months, with coaching afterwards, of course, none of these work without coaching. None of them, you think you can do it yourself. But I tell you what, when I was introduced to the Strength Finder, this book behind me, the Strength Finder, you get it online these days, was literally thrown at my desk and it landed with a thump. And my boss said, here you are, Martin, you may as well do this. Everybody else is, which was lovely. Didn't feel terribly warm and welcoming. I was fairly new to the organization. And so I did do it. And what happened? I looked at the results and went, oh, that's interesting, but also a bit shocking. Don't know what to do with this. Put it in the drawer and carried on with my job, because that's what everybody else did. Explore this. Explore your Strength Finder. Explore your leadership work styles. Explore your emotional intelligence. And you will find things in your organization and you shifting in a way that supports you and the organization, leading you all to be at your very, very best every day without burning out. Now, just about to come up to time, and it would be remiss of me not to mention last week's LinkedIn Live, which got messed up by LinkedIn, but nevertheless is available to you to see on my YouTube channel. And funnily enough, I thought I was going to stream to the YouTube channel today, but Google have put some other, is it Google? I can't remember. Might be Facebook. Anyway, one of them have put another step in and I've got to wait 24 hours. That's kind of them. Anyway, the point is, last week I was talking about journaling and the journaling journey and doing the expressive writing exercise for 4 days. Well, I have done it. Honestly, some of the things that come up are kind of scary. I'd forgotten about them, but that, I think, is the point. Some of the things you're hanging on to that you didn't realize you were hanging on to, and they're running in the background. They're running like a negative soundtrack, just in that subconscious space, eking away energy and giving you the tension pains and so on that come with that. So I found it very, very useful indeed. My wife has done it. She's found it useful too. And I hope you have done it too. Be lovely to find out if you have and what it meant for you. Direct message me from LinkedIn. You can get me at martin@inspirecoaching.com. Yes, I should be smart and have it all come up on the screen, but I'm not that smart yet. And I look forward to seeing you next week at the same time or on the replay. If you're watching on the replay, thank you. Please do let me know. In the meantime, have a good week. Look out for the newsletter on Friday, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.